Hello and welcome. Welcome to this video. Welcome to my channel. My name is Brenda Campbell. I'm an artist and a certified Zentangle teacher. Today we're going to be working on a Zentangle inspired art project with a mid-century modern theme. This is the third in my series of 3 videos with mid-century modern holiday trees. So this one's quite a bit different from the last 2, even though they each stand on their own. This time we're going to begin with a tile. We're still using the Phi tile, but we're going to begin with a tile that we have already added color to. So I have a video. You can check it out in the link above. And this is a video that shows how I created the color on the tile. I did it quite some time ago, but for some reason, the colored tile just called to me and said, "Use me for one of your trees." At least that's what I heard. So I did. And this particular tree is going to be a little bit different than the others in that this one does not really have a tangle per se. There are a couple of triangle shaped tangles that Zentangle has deconstructed, but they all depend on sitting side by side. In this pattern, we are going to overlay the triangles on top of each other. And then we are going to kind of draw in the intersections. And then we're going to give it some contrast by adding some graphite and adding some chalk, and white chalk, that is. And then also by adding some white jelly roll pen as well. At the end, we're going to add some gold orbs to emulate a ornament on a holiday tree and to simulate radiant light coming out from the top of the tree. I've put some gold lines that are just kind of broken up but radiating out from the top of the tree. So this is the project we're going to work on. Take your time to review the other video if you like and see how I added color, and then you can take time to add color to your own tile. But I want you to understand this is perfectly fine. This project works very well with simple black and white on a white tile. So use the tools that you have, and I hope you take time to draw along with me. We are doing Zentangle inspired art, and typically I will go through the 8 steps of the Zentangle method, but sometimes I kind of let it go when we're doing ZIA projects. I do encourage you to take a moment before you begin and just take a couple of deep breaths and kind of hold on to that feeling of gratitude when you find it. And when you're ready, you can always pause the video and do what you need to do and then come back to it and pick it up. So if you draw with me, don't be afraid to just take your own time, pausing the video when you need to, and then coming back to it when you're ready. So hopefully you'll have fun with this project. I certainly had a lot of fun creating it. I do want you to enjoy yourself. I am skipping step 2, 3, and 4. We are not putting corner dots or a border or even a string on this. As I drew it, I just had that big triangle shape in my mind, and that's how I placed my triangles to create that shape. So don't worry about those steps. We're going to jump right in to the pattern, and that is step 5, and then we'll spend a lot of time on step 6. So step 5 is the pattern. I'm going to begin with a Micron PN pen, a black pen, and I am just going to begin drawing triangles. Take your time. They are all going to be different. They are going to vary in size and a little bit in shape. And so just kind of pay attention, relax, watch what I'm doing. If you're drawing along, once you have a comfort level that you are ready, go ahead and start drawing with me. You can see I take my time placing the triangles, and I'm beginning with a few pretty large size triangles just to more or less create the total shape of my tree. You see me turning my tile as we go. That keeps my wrist a little bit more relaxed, but also helps me to draw a more consistent line. Starting to fill in the spaces with some smaller triangles now. This pattern is going to contain a lot of contrast. We've got contrast in size and shape so far of our triangles. This tree does not have a trunk like the last one did. I'm just going to kind of end in a wide area at the base. I'm trying to fill it in and get a little bit of balance, but I'm also watching that I don't make it look too busy on the inside. I don't need too much interweaving or overlapping in my triangles. I want some, obviously. Okay, so now we're done, and I'm picking up my Micron 01 pen, and I am going to start filling just simple lines inside where there is an overlap. They're straight lines, but they vary in direction, just to give it some more contrast. So now we have contrast between open triangles and ones that are filled with the lines. And some of these spaces we're filling in are really not triangles. We're doing the overlap. So the only real triangles are the ones we began with as we drew them. Where I have intersecting spaces that are right next to each other, I'm altering the direction of my lines to give it that contrast. Because I'm using my 01 pen, we also have contrast in the thickness of the line. But remember, you don't have to have everything. If you only have one pen, that's fine. You don't have to have a thick one and a thin one. So use what you have. So many little spots where they overlap. Okay, I left some of them open just to keep a little bit of balance. Now I'm picking up my graphite pencil and I am going to draw a line of graphite on what I deem to be the bottom of each triangle. Now, they're all going in different directions, so the bottom may be different for you. When it's totally not going in the right direction, I might pick a side then. So either the right side on all of them. If I don't do the bottom, I do the right side. That's kind of my process as I go through all of my triangles. And just take your time and just make sure every triangle has a little graphite on it on one of the three lines. This is just adding some contrast. And if you miss one, don't worry, you can always come back and add a little more graphite if you need to. I don't know if I'm getting all of mine or not. Okay, now I'm picking up my tortillon and I'm just going to blend out that line of graphite I put on the bottom of every triangle, the bottom or the side, depending on which I chose as I went through. There, I missed one. Just added a little graphite, now I'm blending it out. Lots of lines. Sometimes it's hard to just keep them separate. There's another one. Don't worry, there's no mistakes. Just take your time. Remember, this should be kind of a fun activity. It should be relaxing for you. If it's not, you might want to stop and take a big breath, maybe two, and then go ahead and start again. So what do you think? Kind of liking the way that it looks. I think maybe I've got them all. And now I'm picking up my white Jelly Roll pen, and I am going to put a white line right above one of the other two sides that don't have graphite on them. And I'm just picking one side on each triangle. I'm putting this white ink on top of a watercolor kind of base. And the Jelly Roll ink is water soluble. And because of that, it's going to pull up some of that color from underneath. I might have to go back over once this is dry. I go back over it. Um, but that's up to you. You can decide if it bothers you and you can go back over it. And if it doesn't bother you, you don't have to. And you noticed I kind of skipped over the black line there where they intersect. There's no rhyme or reason really to when I do that. Sometimes I do it and sometimes I just draw right over top of the line. So just one way or one more way for me to add a little bit of interest to the design. Another thing about the Jelly Roll pens is that you notice that I kind of do a little tapping at the beginning of each line to make sure that the ink is flowing. And then I just kind of lightly pull that line uh, down or across or whatever. But the point I'm trying to make is that I have a very light touch. And what I'm looking for is that ink to just kind of flow out of the tip of the pen, almost as if it was paint on a brush. So that's what I'm doing with all of this back and forth. It's just, I'm barely touching the tile. That ink is just flowing out from the tip. Only a few more now. Looks like one more, and I'll be done. Okay, now I'm picking up my gold metallic Jelly Roll pen, and I am drawing some orbs. I'm leaving my little spot for the sparkle, even though it's not white underneath. It's going to be green or green yellow, depending on where I put it. And I'm just going around and randomly placing them. I'm just drawing right on top of the other lines that I've drawn. I do try not to use something right over a black line for the highlight. I try to use something that's part of the color and not the line. That'll be easier for me to add the white for the actual highlight. I'm just placing them at this time, and then I'm going to go back and go over again, try to get some more gold ink laid down each one of those. Okay, now I'm just going to put some more gold on there. Okay, now I'm taking my white chalk pencil And I am adding a little bit of white chalk underneath the white. I just kind of messed that one up there, but remember, no mistakes. So under the line of white and under the black line next to it, that's where I'm placing that line of white chalk. And then I'll be blending that out. Adding a lot of interest and contrast to all of these triangles. I think that's just helping to make this look pretty cool. I remember mid-century modern was really focused. There was a lot of geometric shapes in the design, a lot of abstractness. So we used circles or orbs in our first mid-century modern tree. We used angular lines, creating squares and rectangles and other angular shapes for our second tree. And with our third tree here, we're using triangles. So I have my tortilla now, and I'm just blending out that white chalk a little bit. Oh, I missed one. Trying to keep it off of the black lines, but it's almost impossible to keep it completely off. So I'm going to end up going back in. Right now, I'm just going over some of the white lines, bringing that shine back. Sometimes the Jelly Roll pens don't like to work well on top of the chalk. I think the chalk kind of mucks up in the tip, so you have to clean it off more often. This one seems to be working pretty good again. Yay! This also adds more white on top in case it's pulling up any of that green from the paint underneath. So it does make it look whiter. So I've got my PN pen back out, and I am going over those black lines that kind of got lost under the chalk. So this is just kind of giving it a little extra love, going over some of our lines again, bringing that solid black, that dark contrast back. It makes such a big difference. And take your time if you're retracing these lines. But it really makes such a difference to pull that black back by going over it again. So these gold orbs kind of look like they were just floating. So I wanted to go ahead and ground them a little bit better. And I'm just drawing a black line around the outside. It helps a little bit with the dimension, but really just helps them kind of stand out a little better. Okay, now I'm going back in with my white Jelly Roll pen to try to put some white in that sparkle space on each one of these orbs. Now you want to be careful as you move around on this tile because that gold might still be a little bit wet. And that white gel ink might be a little bit wet. Just kind of be mindful as you go around. Okay, now I am putting those lines that radiate out from the top of the tree. I break them up a little bit just to give it some interest. When I come to a space where the paint is missing, there's a little white, I try to leave that alone and not draw on top of it. But I'm not too worried about it. Remember, there are no mistakes. growing this out a little bit more so that it kind of has a straight across line at the bottom of it, but as the radiation lines, I guess, the radiating lines. Okay, I think that's all my lines. Now all that's left is to move to step 7, which is to do my chop, my initials, my stylized initials, B and C. Tucking it in there behind some of those triangles. I'm adding another, because I can't stop myself, adding another little layer of white in those highlight spaces. And I'm not going to turn it over either because I don't want to mess with the white gel. It's going to be wet still. Okay, and there you have it, mid-century modern tree number 3. I hope you had a good time. I hope you drew along. And if you did, remember, if you do share on social, go ahead and tag me so I can take a look and see what you're doing and maybe even get in there and give you a little bit of love. So until next time, be you and be happy.